first ever virtual Microsoft Business App Summit, and particularly welcome to the Power Apps session. My name is Ryan. We get to spend the next half an hour together talking about all things Power Apps, particularly what's new and what's hot in the platform and what's coming next that you should be paying attention to through the rest of 2020. We've got a great crew working behind the scenes, answering your questions in the chat. Please pop them in. We'll try to leave a few minutes at the end to take a few of those questions live, but you can catch us all day here, also on Twitter. Use the MS BizApp Summit hashtag, and I'll be jumping into that conversation later as well. I want to take a few minutes at the top here just to reflect on what an incredible year it's been in the Power Apps space and the Power Apps community. This photo was snapped last year at the last MBAS in Atlanta. Really great crew of people came together right before that conference for a hackathon. In fact, we just repeated that hackathon this last weekend virtually, and had 390 people participate, far more than you see in this photo. The community has grown exponentially since then, and the product has grown as well. It's been a really exciting year to see what's possible when makers have powerful tools in their hands. In fact, Power Apps, from a user-based perspective, has grown more than 3 times in the last year. Just an incredible hockey stick and groundswell of people making things and solving problems in their organizations. And it's not just more users that we're seeing, which is powerful. It's also what they're doing. It's been a big year for the Common Data Service, for people building really full stack applications and shocking cat gifs everywhere, and being able to really get to market quickly, even when there's no existing data platform, even when they need multiple applications over the same data. To be able to do that in days or less is incredibly powerful. We've also seen the mix of people being productive on Power Apps start to broaden and change. Not just citizen developers or low-code developers, but really coders embracing the productivity benefits of low code as well. We've seen a great movement of people embracing this idea that less code doesn't mean no code. It just means everybody working more efficiently and getting more done together. And when you see that sort of come back together, I mentioned we just repeated this global Hack for Good event. It's just so incredible what happens when people from different backgrounds, different skills, different geographic areas get together and start helping each other for a cause. And I think as the world, we can recognize that now more than ever, we need that motion. The world has changed a lot in the last couple months, and it has created a whole bunch of pressure on a lot of people, and we've talked about it till we're blue in the face as a society. But one place where it's really created a lot of pressure is in the space of low code and digital transformation. Now more than ever, this promise of quickly develop applications, quickly transform, do it with a whole range of people in your organization, this is no longer just a nice to have. And a lot of people ask, why is Power Apps accelerating? Why is it taking off? Why is now the moment in time to really take low code and citizen development seriously? For a lot of reasons, transformation is no longer an option. Now, this is no longer a nice to have or a should do someday or a competitive edge. In many cases, for a lot of organizations and a lot of individuals, modernizing and transforming how we do business and how we interact with each other is now an imperative to survive. And it takes the responsibility we have as low-code makers and a community of creators really to the next level and to push that further. And so as we look into the next year and we think about our investments, and we think about how Power Apps is positioned in the market and really where we're making that position strong, we're really focusing on that imperative of transformation and focusing on the reasons why we will help individuals and organizations be successful and achieve more in their world, whatever those challenges may be. That boils down to a couple of factors for us, and it really frames how we think about investing and how we think about Power Apps as unique. And none of these are more important than the other. That's why they're sort of arced on the sun here. But we really focus on the ability for a wide range of people to be successful in the platform. This no cliffs idea that I can start very simply and as a security guard or a former bricklayer or a fourth grade teacher become successful quickly building a low code app for my group. but that same platform can scale all the way to mission critical enterprise apps built by professionals. And both of those types of people at different ends of the spectrum and everywhere in between can collaborate together and be productive together. It's also important that we do that on a data platform that is world-class, that connects to hundreds of services that you're already using and has a full stack out of the box to do really sophisticated things with applications. Also, increasingly at the top of this pile, this is about remote work. This is about a world where the information working world and the frontline working world has a set of jobs and tasks and interactions that are going to look different in the next 12 to 18 months than they looked in the last decade or more. And being really ready for that, being ready for mobile, being ready for collaborative and remote work environments is absolutely crucial and a place we're focusing heavily. We're also focusing on the governance aspect of the platform. As we empower thousands of individuals to create amazing things, we also want to make sure that their organizations can maintain trust and compliance and security and governance and be able to enable that innovation without sacrificing the standards that they're tasked to uphold. And so we're investing heavily on the governance end as well. And lastly, we're making sure that all of this is happening with the latest capabilities of modern computing, that it's not just forms over data. We're not just taking paper and putting it onto a screen, but we're really making those experiences intelligent and rich from the beginning and doing that in a way that lives up to all these other values as well. All of this is what helps make Power Platform, and even broader than Power Apps, the most complete platform out there for low code. It's not just app development. We bring the same philosophy to bots and to automation and to BI and to everything connected in between to really advance what's possible in this world. So I want to dive into some examples of these things, and I want to particularly focus first on remote work. A lot of the epicenter of Power Apps and remote work comes down to Teams. We've been investing heavily here. We've added a published Teams capability for Power Apps late last year. That's growing exponentially. Not only is Teams usage skyrocketing in the remote work reality, but Power Apps in Teams is skyrocketing in the remote work reality. As an example, we shared this template in the early days of the global crisis. In fact, something we put together in just 48 hours to help organizations communicate in the crisis and published out to the world. That's been adopted by thousands of organizations around the world, 60 plus countries, hundreds of thousands of users. Really just as one tiny example proved the necessity of customizing that Teams experience and getting it out there for a lot of people. We're doubling down there. We're doubling down there from a roadmap perspective in a lot of fronts that I want to share with you now. For one, we're bringing Power Apps to more of the Teams experiences. We're building Power Apps into Teams Mobile, and they'll be able to run directly in line of mobile. We're also building Power Apps in a way that they'll feel natural and native and like great experiences whenever they're embedded in Teams. Not only able to communicate with the host of Teams, interact with device capabilities, interact with notifications and messages, but also have themes and controls that feel native to that environment, feel like they belong right inside of the Teams canvas. And all of that will be innovation that rolls out release by release over the next several months. But we're going further than that. And one big thing that we're announcing here at this event is that we'll also be bringing the integrated authoring experience of Power Apps directly into Teams, not just the running apps. This will be a world in which I can actually click and create an app and target a name and a channel or a particular team right in line, and then actually author that entire application without even leaving the Teams canvas. Just an incredible capability of being embedded right there inside of Teams and customizing that host. And in fact, we're going further than that even. We'll make it really easy to discover apps that have already been built in Teams and deploy them and add them into Teams inline as well. So just a whole bunch of investment coming into this world. We really see Power Apps and Teams as the remote work platform. Watch that space. There will be a lot more coming. Another area where we're obviously investing a ton is in the common data service. This is the full, robust platform that powers all of our most sophisticated Dynamics 365 applications and is included in Power Apps standalone licenses as well. And it really expands out what's possible. If you're just using Power Apps with Canvas apps and some connectors in the back end, you're really only using a tiny fraction of what the platform has to offer. When you add CDS into that mix, what you're getting is not only a rich back-end stack of integration layers, of multiple forms of data storage, of enterprise-grade ALM and security concepts and business logic, you're getting all of that exposed natively in the Canvas app world with capabilities that are not just available to any other connector. But then you're getting this whole rich world of other things you can build on top. Model-driven apps that have rich declarative experiences out of the box, portals that make data available to external users, AI capabilities that are exclusive to CDS. The world just gets much richer around low code when you're working on the native onboard data platform. And to put that into context, it's that full stack story that has really powered a lot of the most incredible rapid responses to the COVID-19 emergency recently. You may have noticed we've been putting out as the engineering team some templates and solutions for healthcare workers and for other aspects. The community around the world has also been rallying for customers, and a lot of these things really rely on that full picture. In the case of the healthcare emergency response solution, it takes that full set of capabilities, model apps on the background for configuration, portals to make data available to external users, mobile Canvas apps for frontline nursing staff to enter data quickly, BI decision support dashboards embedded throughout, all of the business logic on the back end that secures it, all of that running in one packaging system to make it easy to deploy and upgrade. None of this would have been possible, especially not in the time frames that we were able to accelerate and put this out in the world, just days to put together these solutions without doing it on CDS. And so there's just a ton of investment going in here and a ton of capability already here that if you're not plugged into, this is the time to really take it seriously. And now we're taking it seriously as well. We're continuing to invest. We talk about portals a lot and the capability that they unlock, the ability to really easily create experiences that somebody can log into with any identity, with a Facebook login, with a LinkedIn login, with a Google identity, with a Twitter login, be able to do that publicly on the internet as well. Just a huge expansion of the capabilities that's possible in low code and really central to a lot of these experiences in the new remote work world. We're also really investing in the back end of CDS and making sure that the data tools and the reporting tools that are exposed are powerful. Charles shared this earlier in his session as well, but one of the really exciting announcements for CDS in this event is that we're opening up direct query for Power BI, and as part of that, opening up a direct T-SQL endpoint for CDS. So all of the data management tools that you're used to as a data manager in an organization, including SQL Server Management Studio, just works directly over CDS, including respecting all of the security and all of the authentication and all of the code logic and plugins. Just a really great expansion of capabilities of what's possible to the value of data stored in this place. Now on the front end, on the app stack, we're investing as well. We've brought richer file types and image types into CDS and plumbed that all the way through to great controls. So now in Canvas or model apps, I can embed rich images natively in CDS. I can even do image annotation in line with some of those controls. Just really powerful capabilities here end to end that are only possible when you're working on the full stack of the platform. Now, we mentioned Canvas apps and model apps. Another big theme for us is really bringing those worlds and those houses together into an increasingly cohesive and powerful story. Now, as you may know, if you've been following Power Apps for a while, model apps are the declarative apps where you define them logically over data in CDS, and we make a bunch of great looking user experience and grids and forms and dashboards. Canvas apps are the opposite. You start with a blank canvas, you build a great experience, you bring all the data to it you want. We're starting to increasingly make those just two sets of capabilities in the same app stack. And we're really putting our money where our mouth is there. We just released the converged mobile player that brings both of these app types into just one cohesive list. I can launch any one in one place. We're also really investing under the hood of that mobile player to improve its mobile offline capabilities. And we're releasing that actually first for our own first-party Dynamics 365 field service applications, which have very robust offline requirements. And then we'll be bringing those offline capabilities to the whole mobile stack as we go. So a lot happening in the mobile space and the converged space around CDS and model and canvas apps, but we're not stopping there. We're also starting to bring together the UX development aspects of this. What you're looking at now is a custom component or page developed on the canvas that can then be added into a model-driven application and then worked side by side as an end user inside of that modeled environment. So I can bring this in as a full page into my model-driven host. And then when I flip over to actually run that app, I'm going to save and publish it, I'll see those two things not as separate apps, not as one thing embedded in another, but really as seamless aspects of the same experience. I'm going to pop over here. I'm going to navigate from the modeled grid, and I'm going to go straight into the running app on that I built on the canvas. I've got both of those worlds together in one seamless package. So that's coming soon as well. What you're looking at there was running code on our front that we're working to get out to market to you. Just a really dramatic expansion of what's possible with these two worlds together in one. Okay, now I mentioned earlier that this is no longer just a platform for amateurs, tinkerers, makers. This is really something that a whole community of developers is rallying around, and increasingly including people who already have the day job of building business applications for their organizations. And we're really embracing that in Power Apps, and we're really gratified to see the people that are becoming successful there. This is a story I love. James is a developer at the Australian Pharmaceutical Industries Company, obviously in Australia. Priceline is the retail pharmacy brand that they trade under. This is a person who classically might not think of themselves as somebody who needs low code. I know how to write software. Why would I need a low code tool? Until James got hands-on with the platform and really realized how much of an accelerator and a force multiplier low code can be when you're writing code only where you need to and not for the full stack of the application. Now this is something that is really powerful for people like James to go faster in their organizations. And it doesn't mean they're leaving code behind. It just means they're writing less of it. And it means they can bring building blocks into the low code experience where they need to. And we've really expanded what's possible with PCF, the Power Apps component framework, where I can bring my own custom React component to the code environment. We've expanded what's possible with custom connectors. I can go connect to any service or system that I'm running. In this case, James is connecting to a whole bunch of things in AWS using those custom connectors. And so I can bring customization at the front end and the back end. But we're also not stopping there. And something we've invested in recently expanding is bringing all the tools that professional developers are used to maintain quality and debug their apps and analyze their usage, bring those into the low-code environment as well. It's not just building a solution, it's also maintaining it and maintaining it with quality. So Power Apps Monitor is new. We've had this out in preview now for a few months and have been expanding it to go debug and understand exactly what's happening in everything behind the scenes when I click on buttons in my app, and be able to really narrowly pinpoint where are there problems with performance, where are there problems with stability, is it my connector or is it something else? Just lots of power right there in the low-code environment. We've also opened up the ability to run end-to-end tests of apps. And again, do that in a low-code way. Go actually define a test straight within Power Apps just by using the app itself and clicking around the user experience, recording a click path, and then defining what's a successful path and what's an unsuccessful path. Now, not only can you do that, you can also automate running those tests. And if you're using Azure DevOps, you can build that test pipeline directly into your build tasks, and then actually configure downstream. Am I going to continue with this pipeline if the tests fail or pass? So just really powerful capabilities to go integrate in the way that professionals are already used to working. And we're expanding that out now even further to Azure App Insights, the ability to go pump telemetry from Power Apps straight into App Insights and see exactly what's happening behind every application, where things are running fast, where they're not, where people are using them from. Just the sky is the limit from a monitoring perspective of actual runtime application usage. Now, when we talk about expanding the sophistication of what Power Apps can do, we're not even stopping at professional developers and code and tests. We're also increasingly expanding the boundaries of what we think about as possible in a low-code application. One of the big announcements we've made recently is that we're also really now taking that and bridging both the physical and the digital worlds with mixed reality. And we're bringing some of the mixed reality investments that Microsoft has invested heavily in the context of HoloLens and associated technologies around that. We're really democratizing that in the low-code space, bringing that to a place where any developer can be successful building these experiences, and where any user doesn't even require HoloLens hardware, but can start to use them on any commodity smartphone. And so just really powerful capabilities here that are lighting up. They're in private preview today. Many of you may be using them. They'll be expanded out to public preview and GA soon. They do a couple things. What you're seeing on the left here is if I've got an existing 3D model of a part or a piece of equipment, I can add that into Power Apps and actually project that into three-dimensional space. Is it going to fit in this configuration in this place? But look, not everybody already has 3D models. So the same technology, what you're seeing on the right, can actually measure an existing object in the real world and on the fly generate a 3D representation of that object to go see if it's going to fit in another place. So what you're seeing here is using some of the AR capabilities right within the Power Apps player to go measure an existing, in this case, Pepsi cooler, generate a 3D model of it on the fly, and then go virtually move it around that space and say, oh, hey, is this piece of equipment going to fit over here? So I don't need to be a Unity developer. I don't even need to have a rich set of 3D models sitting in my back office in order to benefit from some of these augmented reality and mixed reality capabilities straight within the Power Apps environment. Some of that same investment also is expanding out the notion of what spatial control means in Power Apps as well, and really bringing that capability to just much richer maps and map services in Power Apps, powered by some of the Azure mapping capabilities under the hood. So what you're seeing now is running code looking at bringing rich Azure maps straight into Power Apps. And the cool thing about this is the ability to then use all the richness of Power Apps around it, including data sets and customization. This is an app that an MVP in our community has built, pushing data of COVID cases and COVID data directly into some of these rich controls right inside of Power Apps, and being able to create an immersive, rich experience around that map application directly inside of the low-code environment. Again, just incredible expansion of capabilities. All right, last topic here, and then we'll leave a few minutes for Q&A. All this is great. All the expanded ability to build apps, do it inside teams, do it with expanded capabilities in CDS, bring intelligence and mixed reality to it, all fine. But what happens when that scales to thousands of users or hundreds of thousands of users in a company? How does a company maintain order and maintain security and governance and trust in that explosion and renaissance of innovation? It's top of mind for many of our customers, and it's certainly top of mind for us as well. One of the great advantages of Power Apps is that it's not just some rogue software sitting under somebody's desk without visibility. Everybody's always acting as themselves and is always secured through Azure Active Directory, the foremost identity provider system in the enterprise, which means we expose a whole bunch of governance capability and control out of the box, and we're expanding that. In fact, just last week, we announced the ability to get even more granular with data loss prevention policies and even block specific connectors in the default environment, third-party connectors, premium connectors. We're doing all of that in a newly unified admin center across the whole Power Platform. The ability to go administer and govern the Common Data Service, Power Automate, Power Apps, all from one pane of glass. Just very powerful in what it can do for admins and what it can do to enable them not just to protect and secure low-code app development, but really encourage and foster and enable it throughout their organizations. And we see that motion as another key trend as we steer into the rest of 2020 and beyond, is really customers large and small establishing a center of excellence inside of their organizations and looking at how to foster and shape low-code app development as a force multiplier, as a upskilling mechanism for their workforce, as a way to reduce costs across their innovation portfolio. And we're feeding that. We've been rapidly updating the Center of Excellence Starter Kit, a whole rich set of tools that go even further beyond what we offer out of the box and provide great analytics and telemetry and control and interface with those citizen developers. It's absolutely worth checking out if you haven't seen it yet, and it's worth watching because we're going to continue innovating on it all the time. Okay, that was a whirlwind tour through what's top of mind for Power Apps. There's just a lot to be said for the remote work future, and Power Apps is a key part of innovating at scale in a world where work looks very different now than it did before. That's surrounded and enabled by the very powerful data platform of the Common Data Service, the governance control that we offer to IT, the extensibility that we offer to professionals, and all of the intelligence, and including mixed reality and augmented reality built in. There just isn't a more complete platform for low code on the market, and it's getting richer and better every day as we invest. We're really grateful that you've been on this journey with us. It is certainly a journey that we are going to continue to be on together for a long time. With that, I will pause. We've left a couple minutes for questions here, so I'll kick the mic over to Clay, who might be able to bubble up a couple from the chat window. Anything we don't get to today, reach out on Twitter, reach out in all of the channels that we already have, and we'll continue the conversation. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, we've got a ton of questions coming through, so we're still catching up with those. One of the few ones that popped here that are really, really interesting. Can you talk a little bit more? We've got questions about managing, in complex enterprise environments, moving apps between dev, test, and prod, and the future of the roadmap for integration with Azure DevOps.
Yeah, so this is definitely an area where we're focused and innovating a lot. For folks who are maybe less familiar, Power Apps has a concept called environments, which really wrap all apps and data and logic and permission and have a full self-contained instance of the Common Data Service database inside of them. And they can be used inside an organization. You can have as many as you want inside of your tenant, but they're used to isolate things from a security boundary perspective and a work boundary perspective, so that I can then move assets between them. I can move things from dev to test to prod, and I can create isolation between different business units or different geographies or different projects. So it's a really key aspect of our governance story and also our DevOps story. And increasingly what we're doing is really expanding out how you interface with that concept, both in terms of how you can automate it through tools like Azure DevOps, as well as how we can just make it much easier to use for your average citizen developer through the Power Apps interfaces itself. And so that is a very active area of investment for us. And I'll maybe try to skip back to some slides where we poked just briefly at it in this presentation. There are some other sessions here at MBAS around governance and ALM that will go much deeper there, and some great on-demand content that we can try to point people to. But the gist is that yes, I can actually automate an Azure DevOps build pipeline today that will move a package and a solution of assets from dev to test to prod across those environments, can run static analysis in Power Apps Checker, and then stage gate the movement based on that. Now can run Test Studio as well as part of those pipelines. And we will continue to invest heavily there to make sure that that DevOps automation story is really robust end to end.
Great. Thanks, Ryan. And now, look, we've got about a minute and a half left, so I'll give you one last question. This is a very topical. What's the value that can be driven by embedding in teams?
So it's a great question. I think one of the primary pieces of value there, and it's very basic, is just discoverability. As we see a whole bunch of organizations shift from maybe using Teams occasionally as a chat service to really living all day in Teams, day in and day out, being able to find things and have an augmentation of that experience that's so much more than just chat and collaboration, but is really specific to how my company does work, is a huge productivity boost. And even long before the COVID crisis, we saw a real trend of people taking things that, maybe 5 or 10 years ago we would have built as a standalone intranet site and tried to get people to remember a URL for or pin to their desktop, really reimagining those things as custom Power Apps embedded in Teams where people are already working and can already find them. And so the very first and foremost piece of value there from a Teams perspective is just put it where people already are and make it part of their day-to-day experience. Don't make them have to go across a big diaspora of different touch points inside your company to get to what they want. But that's only a piece of it. And I think as you go a little bit further from that, you realize that when a lot of people are doing their work in Teams, there's a whole bunch of rich context inside of Teams that isn't as top of mind or available when I'm running a standalone app. How I'm chatting and collaborating and communicating with my colleagues, how I'm getting tasks from my manager, how I'm interfacing with documents around a particular object, how I'm looking at BI embedded in Teams and reporting for my company. When all of that is also in Teams and Power Apps become increasingly aware of it, and Teams becomes increasingly aware of the content of Power Apps, when that Teams search bar can search over records in the Common Data Service, for example, all of a sudden that experience becomes a lot richer than just one app sitting alone on its own in a web browser. So look, there will still obviously be lots of reasons to run Power Apps standalone. Run a Power App standalone on your mobile device for frontline worker, run a Power App standalone on the web for an information worker. Those are obviously still key scenarios. Millions of people are using them today. By no means will we back off of that. But adding those capabilities into Teams just opens up a whole new rich plane for discoverability and for the capability of what those apps can do. All right, I think we're at time there. Thank you, everybody, for spending the time here. Like I mentioned, we're not going anywhere. We'll be around throughout the whole event digitally. In fact, later today, I've got the great honor of announcing the winners of the Hack for Good Global Hackathon, so we'll be back on to do that soon. Stay tuned, reach out, and have fun making Power Apps. We'll see you soon.